Hi everyone, welcome to the 19th lecture of Ansible series, and in this lecture we will try to understand or deep dive more towards Ansible debug module, print the statements during the execution. Now we have covered most of the important topic, actually every important topic, what you need to know about Ansible. So I just wanted to cover up few more important concepts so that from the interview perspective or from the production deployment perspective, you need to understand these important pointers as well while working with Ansible. And that's where the debug command or the debug module comes into picture. Now, when you're working with Ansible Playbook, it is great to have some debug option, right? What do you mean by debug option? Which means what exactly is happening in the background while you are running the command. So you want to print out the statement of that particular environment. So for example, I'm installing, let's say, Apache on my Ansible managed node. I want to understand what is exactly happening in the backend. So I can do use of debug module with the help of different set of parameters that debug module provide within Ansible and check what exactly is happening and print out those statements actually. Now Ansible provides a debug module that makes it more easier. It is handy tool to figure out any problem area. So that's why I wanted to cover up the important topic of Ansible debug. Now this is same simple playbook that you write, but inside a playbook you just mention a debug module. As you can see, the three dash that we start with the YAML playbook. Now name, this is a debug module host on which you want to trigger task. Under the task, as you can see, I'm just giving the name as this is my operations. Debug, I'm using a debug module, then message, test my playbook, second line, whatever the line or the set of operations that you're performing, you can print out those statements with the help of debug command. Now this module prints the statement during the execution and can be useful for debugging the variables or expression without necessarily halting the playbook. So in most of the cases, for example, if you're doing a long set of operations, then you might, or the dependent operation, you might set something called wait operation. So instead of waiting what is exactly happening over there, let's use a debug command just to understand where it is stuck. So it will at least help us to understand what is happening in the background. Useful of the debugging together with the when directive is always useful. Now this module is also supported for the Windows target. Earlier it was not there, but now we do have a support. So that's what debug module is in general all about. Now we have three parameters that we can use with the debug module: message, variable, verbosity. This particular parameter is, I do understand this is one of a important factor that what everybody looks for the debug command. So if you're running with the verbosity, you will get much more detail what you are getting with message or variable. Message is basically the customized message that you are printing out. For example, installing Apache, let's print out, hey, I'm installing Apache. Then dependent service, starting the service, let's print out starting a service. So that's what message is within Ansible debug parameter. Variable, so variable comes with the name to debug as well, mutually exclusive with the message option. So you can use message plus variable as well. So for example, let's say you are running Apache installation or any set of operation on multiple Ansible managed node. Now inside that you are using a variable and you want to print out those variable instead of writing like, hey, this is my operation happening on this particular server. So instead of writing that particular stuff, let's use a variable, make it parameterize and print that variable out within your result section. Now verbosity, as I mentioned, verbosity is basically that will give you a detailed output of what operation is happening in the background from the Ansible version to what operations that we are performing on the target node. A number that controls when debug is run. If you set to 3, it will only run the debug when dash VVV or above gets used. I will show you what this exactly means, because let's say if you are setting up a variable or setting up a parameter with debug as verbosity and you have given as 3 to minimum is 2 and the default value is 0. So if you give 2 but you don't use, let's say, dash VV for 2, or if you give verbosity as 3 and you don't use dash VVV, then you will not be able to see any detailed output over there. So that's what what Ansible debug is all about, what all the parameters are all about. Now it's time to do the practical. While writing a debug module, again, it goes with any number of module that what we use in Ansible. But yeah, there are like multiple ways to write inside a playbook. So for example, I'm just starting a playbook as, hey, name, this is my debug module on which target I'm need to run this particular task. Within the task, as you know, like here we perform the actions, and I'm giving name as this is my operation. Within the debug, I'm calling MSG. I'm starting with MSG as a practical. So MSG, then test my line. That's one way of writing it. Second way of writing is uh, debug message, and if you have a multiple line to show the output, then you can use dash dash, and it has to be inside message. It's not parallel to message, so it has to be inside message, and the message is has to be inside debug, not parallel to debug. This indentation is important. Okay, and the third way of writing is in the same line, debug colon message colon, it's not equal to is not required over here, and test my line, just the double quotes. So that's what how we will be going to write our playbook. So let me stop the presentation, discard. So this is my terminal. As you can see, I'm using the same Ansible controller engine and Ansible node. If you remember the IPs, if you're following my Ansible series, so this is the same node running all the time during the entire Ansible series. So this is responding. What we have to do first, let's create a playbook debug.yml. Since we are doing all the debug over here, so let's do debug.yml, shift I, 3 dash, that's the starting. Then I'm giving name as this is my debug, let's say playbook. Okay, on which host that I have to work, which is basically my web server group coming from the inventory, and then task that we have to perform, right? Then name, not this one, name, run the operation, run the debug operation on target node. Okay, now in below name, just use debug colon, enter. Now let me show you that all the three ways right away. Debug colon space msg, then colon, use double inverted comma, this is my first first debug playbook. Okay, let's save it. Now Ansible playbook, Ansible play, come on, sorry, Ansible playbook, then call the debug module, enter. Let's see. So we have some issue over here. The indentation might be, or the syntax is not correct. So let's do another dry run with syntax, syntax check. So again, I have a problem over here, enter. So there is a problem within our debug file. Let's deal with that. Again, errors are always good to show, right? So instead of colon, actually it has to be equals to over here, because we are doing it in the same line. Now if you run this debug check, the syntax check, there is no issue. Let's run this Ansible playbook, enter. So play, this is my debug playbook. That's the option that I have given. Gathering fact, by default it is gathering a fact. And as you can see on this particular node, this is my first debug playbook. That's how you write a statement. Now if I show you the other way of writing a playbook, so let's edit this debug. Okay, so the other way, because I'm using in the same line, everything in the same line, right? So the other way is basically enter, then have some space inside debug, which is basically in parallel to E or B or U or G as per your requirement. Don't do it parallel to D, otherwise it will not work because that will show you syntax is incorrect. Okay, then colon and save it. Let's try to run our playbook. We have some error again. Let's see. So, okay, here actually it has to be this way. One space required. Enter. As you can see, the playbook is working fine. Again, I'm getting the same result of statement, right? That's the second way of writing it with the help of debug message parameter. Now, the second parameter is how you can use variable within your playbook. So if you don't want to print out any specific line like this is my inventory, blah, blah stuff, then you can just use variable, print out everything, whatever you have inside the variable, right? So let me go back to my presentation. So that's how the debug module work with the help of variable. Now, as you can see within the debug, I'm writing this is my inventory underscore hostname. Now, inventory underscore hostname is a default way of presenting all the FQDN or the IP addresses present in your inventory file. Now, in order to, let's say you don't want anything, just plain IP address printing and everything, then use variable var colon space inventory underscore hostname. So that's how simple the usage of debug module. Okay, debug variable module. So let me go back to my terminal and let's edit. First, I will show you how you can use message parameter again to print out your inventory. So for that, this is my inventory, curly braces on, inventory underscore host name. Okay, save it and run it. So this will show you the IP address of the server, the managed node, whatever I have in my inventory. Now, the second parameter, which is variable, let me create var underscore debug dot yml. Enter. I will quickly write another YAML file. Name, this is for printing. This is my var debug. Okay. Host, which is web server, and then task. Here again you can use name just for printing. Sorry, I have made one more mistake. Okay, just try to make your syntax clear, otherwise it will not work. Here you can use name as well. This is my task operation, just for your knowledge that you are doing all these stuff, right? Now, debug, here just use var and use inventory underscore, come on, host name. That's it. Okay, now Ansible playbook var debug. Let's see, should be able to get something out of it. Var debug, the name it has printed out, and as you can see, inventory underscore host name, I'm getting the response from my inventory file. So that's how you use variable. The third parameter is quite somewhat important for everybody because we want to have a verbosity. That let's use the same playbook. We'll edit the same playbook, right? Which is var debug, and here instead of variable, again you can use 3 set of tasks, one for the message, one for the variable, one for the verbosity, or one for the message or verbosity, depend upon you how you want to play around with the debug module and its related parameter. Now here I can just name it as, let's say, message, and this is verbosity. Okay, and here let's use verbosity as 2. This works on a number. By default it is 0. Now if I run this just like as it is, let's see what result we are getting. We are just skipping this parameter. This task is getting skipped. Now what if I use hyphen hyphen, it's hyphen hyphen or hyphen, let's see. I believe it's hyphen hyphen, but let's see. Yeah, no, just one dash, and now you see what result we are getting. So we are getting Ansible Playbook, basically Ansible version 2.9.27 and the related parts and everything. Just skip the warnings over here. Now skipping the callback actionable because it's already exists, the debug module already std out callback, so you're getting much more detail. One play in the var.debug var underscore debug.yml, then meta run handlers, then meta run handlers. So we are getting much more response over here. Now if I do this edit again, let's see, come on, got stuck. If I do 3, save it. I'm just running on T2 micro or T3 micro, so now this is having much more higher resources. So let's use triple V. Now you see we are getting much higher debug response from the playbook. Obviously you can read it like establishing SSH connection, user none. We are getting everything over here. So that's why we get, or we use verbosity, verbose logging basically. And it's better for us to use verbosity because I get more detail while running my playbook. So that's how all the debug module work, the debug parameter work. Print out a statement, print out a variable, and use a debug module for, with the help of verbosity, to get more data out of it, right? So I hope this clears a lot in terms of the concept, the practical demo, and the usage of all the parameters within the debug module. Play around with the debug module related parameter, place out a comment in comment section. I'll be there to help you, and I'll see you in next lecture. Have a nice day. Bye bye.